What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new here, I'm Ellie. I would love for you guys to stick around. If you're interested in more mommy videos, vlogs, lifestyle type videos, then please go ahead and subscribe down below. Today, we're also in a different setting, if you guys can tell. We are actually staying at Joey's mom's house right now while our house is getting renovated. As I showed you guys in the last video, it is getting completely redone. Maybe I'll insert some photos here. I'll probably save it for the next one where I kind of show you around maybe a little bit more and give you an update on that. We have a special guest. Willis is hanging out with us over here. He's so lazy. I couldn't bear to move him, so he's gonna stay right here. Today I'm just gonna do a little bit of a pregnancy update with you guys. Today is July 22nd. It is a Sunday, and I am 25 weeks and 3 days along. I'm gonna start out with just a few stats about baby. Right now he is currently over 13 inches long approximately, and he is nearing the 2-pound weight mark. So that's exciting. At 25 weeks, baby has a lot more chance of being viable and surviving outside of the womb, so that's exciting as well. Being said, let's get right into the update. So my second trimester has definitely been a little bit smoother than the first trimester. As I've told you guys before, my first trimester was pretty hard. I was very uncomfortable, very sick a lot. If you see me looking at my phone, it's because I did take notes to kind of go over with you guys what's been going on. Let's see. Let me open that up. So for the second trimester, like I said, it's been a little bit smoother. I've still had some symptoms, of course. For one, and one that I didn't really expect or know was a symptom of pregnancy, is I've had a lot more headaches. I know that obviously that has a lot to do with hormones and things changing in your body. It usually happens later in the day, when it's like about time for me to go home from work, basically. So at the end of my work day, I'm always feeling not that great because I also start getting kind of nauseous around that time. Like I've told you guys, I was really sick in my first trimester, and it's something that has continued, but definitely not as bad as before. It only really happens in the morning if I take a really long time to get my day going and to have breakfast, and I'm hungry, obviously my stomach is empty, then I start getting really nauseous, or if I go a really long time without eating. So I do try to be consistent about eating probably about 4 smaller meals a day, and I usually am okay, but at some point in the day, I'm usually at least a little bit nauseous. But I have not been as sick as I was. I've gotten sick a couple of times, but nowhere near what it was in my first trimester. Another thing that started happening very randomly, and it like scared the crap out of me the first time it happened because it just happens all of a sudden, is I have gotten a few times, I mean, it hasn't happened a bunch, but I would say about 3 times, I have randomly woken up in the middle of the night with the worst ever leg cramps, like so incredibly painful. And then I still feel it for the next couple of days after. So that sucks. Maybe I should, I don't know, be having more potassium or magnesium or whatever it is. If you know, let me know in the comments down below. So that hasn't been fun. Another thing that has finally started happening, and I know this happens to a lot of women, it's pretty common, is I've started having some sciatic pain. It started probably about a week and a half ago, and it's just on my left side. It's like a shooting sharp pain in your lower back. It usually happens if I make like a sudden movement, or if I'm like getting up, or it really, it's just not fun. I do thankfully work for a chiropractor, so he adjusted me when it first started, and that helped. But then we had a whole weekend of moving our stuff out of our house, as you guys saw in that last video. And after that, it was really flared up. It was really bad. Thankfully, on that Monday when I went back to work, one of our massage therapists worked on me, and that helped a ton. So if you are experiencing some sciatic pain, definitely look into that. Find someone who's knowledgeable, who's obviously worked on pregnant women before, but I highly recommend getting a prenatal massage. I mean, it really helped a lot. Aside from that, the one fun thing about the second trimester is that I started feeling him a ton more. It's just the coolest feeling in the world. I don't know how to describe it. It kind of feels like there's an alien in there like moving around punching you, but it is really cool to know that it's your baby growing and moving around and letting you know he's in there and he's okay. Because another thing that I've experienced during this pregnancy is anxiety. I've always been a pretty anxious person, but during pregnancy, I've started just being anxious and worried about a lot of new things, obviously, because I'm growing a human, and that comes along with a whole slew of new worries. I've noticed that usually the week of my doctor's appointments, I'm very anxious leading up to the appointment. I always have these like really irrational fears that the doctor's gonna come in and tell me that something is terribly wrong. Just this past week, I had my most recent appointment on Thursday. And during the week leading up to that, I was just like freaking out. I'm like, oh, he hasn't been moving that much. Maybe there's something wrong. And honestly, it's just like me working myself up. Thankfully, I have Joey to talk to, and a lot of times he's able to just calm me down and tell me everything's gonna be okay and that we're doing great. And he usually calms me down. But it is scary. I mean, if you're going through this and if you do have anxiety during your pregnancy, definitely talk to people, because that's going to be the best way for you to deal with it. Just be open about it, and it's going to make a huge difference for you. At least it helps me a lot. It's the way that I can cope with it. Just expressing it and vocalizing it, and you know, realizing that it's an irrational feeling that you're having, and that the more that you dwell on that, the worse you're going to feel. So yeah, if you guys have any suggestions for how you deal with anxiety during pregnancy, then please let me know as well in the comments down below. I love to start a discussion about that, because it's not something that people talk about all the time or that they're comfortable talking about, but it is something that we should talk about. With all of those symptoms being said, let's jump into a little bit more of an update on baby and my most recent doctor's appointment. Like I told you guys before, my biggest concern has now been obviously placenta previa and whether I'm gonna have to have a C-section. And also at my last appointment, they didn't get all the views of baby's heart just because of his positioning. So that was the first thing those were the two things that we looked at this appointment. First, she took all the views of the heart and she said, you know, we got everything we need at this time, no worries at all. When I went in to see the doctor, he told me that his heart looks perfect, so that was reassuring. He basically said that baby's anatomy just looks great all around, so that was very comforting. Then of course I asked him about the placenta. It is still low-lying, but now it's only marginally placenta previa. It's not really covering my cervix anymore. Right now it's 0.6 centimeters away from my cervix. But with that being said, as far as where it is right now, I would still have to have a C-section. They don't feel comfortable with you doing a vaginal delivery unless it's at least 2 centimeters away. But the doctor did tell me that because it has moved since the last appointment, he is fairly confident that it will continue to, you know, as things expand, get out of the way of the cervix even more. So I'm fingers crossed, really hopeful that we will still have a vaginal delivery. So he still does want me on pelvic rest. He doesn't want me doing anything crazy. Just as a safety precaution, just stick with what we've been doing. Obviously, if there's any bleeding, I need to go to the hospital right away, but thankfully I have not had any bleeding. So I'm just praying and hoping that things continue to go this way and that I will be able to have that vaginal delivery. So I think those are pretty much all of the updates. At my next appointment, I will be having that very fun glucose test where you take that sugary drink just to check if you have gestational diabetes. I haven't felt off in any way really as far as that, so I'm hoping that things are good on that front, but we'll see. I've heard is not that fun, but some people say it's not that bad, so we'll see how that turns out. I'll definitely update you guys. If you guys like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next one.